Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Small Town Tourist Podcast, where we experience and explore everything that makes small towns great. I'm your host, Abbey, and today we have a lot of ground to cover with Mike Lardy. We actually sat down and recorded this morning. It's coming out the same day because I think that this is such an important podcast to get out into the world. Now, Mike owns Bravo Burritos in St. Cloud along with his wife, and he is part of Project 37. It's a branch of the nonprofit organization Independent Music Collaborative of Central Minnesota. They're working to fundraise. They have a goal of raising $75,000 to purchase a venue in downtown St. Cloud to put in this music venue and educational space and just gathering space for youth and the sober curious. And it's just going to be such an amazing thing. They have this incredible vision. I'll let Mike explain more about it, but it is such an important thing. And I am just in awe of all the work that they're doing. There's a big fundraiser that is happening on November 16th. So if you're listening before that, be sure you check that out. It's happening at the Oblivion Coffee Building in downtown St. Cloud. All the links are down in the show notes below. If you can't make it to the event, I have a link to their online fundraiser as well. Like we said in this interview, if everyone in the St. Cloud area donated just $1, this project would be fully funded. So if you can give just $1, it would make a huge difference. Again, all the details are in the show notes below, and we'll get into it more with our interview here with Mike Lardy. Thank you so much for listening. So I have everyone start by giving me their name, where they're from, and what they do. So whenever you're ready, and I know that can kind of be a loaded question.
Well, unless you want me to talk forever, I totally can. But
it's a podcast. That's what we're here for. We're here to just yap away.
Awesome. Okay, well, hi, Abby. My name is Mike Lardy. I am the co-owner with my wife, Sam, of Bravo Burrito. I also own a production AV studio called Mike Lardy Creative, obviously named after myself. And recently, in this past year, I joined the board of the Independent Music Collaborative of Central Minnesota. It's a long name. We like to call it the IMCCM. And everybody around town's been talking about the wing of the IMCCM called Project 37, which is in the process of fundraising to buy a building to make an all-ages, safe, sober music venue for kids, which is something that I've been passionate about my whole life.
Wow. So we have a lot to get into today because I want to cover all of these topics. Let's start with where we're sitting right now. If you're watching the video version, we are sitting in Bravo Burrito. And this, fun fact, this is the third time I've been here in the past week and a half because This place is delicious. So Bravo Burrito is a place that has this insane cult following in the area. And then everyone who lives here or stops here temporarily on their journeys, they always end up coming back because this is the place to go to get some damn good burritos. What's your journey with owning this place?
Wow, okay. So if you start at the beginning, I am a musician, and I was looking for part-time work to pay the bills because as a 19-year-old, so many years ago, playing in original bands isn't really the bill payer that you'd expect it to be. So I started working here at Bravo in 1999 as a teenager, and basically I was kind of part-time, and then it became a little bit more full-time, and then my future wife, Samantha, started working here, and she ended up in a management position very quickly due to her amazing skills as a manager, and push comes to shove, and we eventually started dating and got together, and the founders, Bill and Ellen Becker, were, coming up on 30 plus years of running the business, and they were thinking about their retirement plan. So they wanted to have a succession plan that kept it as like a family business, right? So they thought that we would be a good successor. At that point, I'd been working here for something like 15 years, and Sam has been here almost that long too, and they figured that would be a good plan, and we set the plan in place. And fast forward a few more years, and April of 2021, actually April Fool's Day, if that's funny or not, we took over as the owners, and it's been 3.5, almost 4 years now. Here we are, and side note, Bravo Burrito is going to be celebrating its 40th anniversary next year.
That's insane. That's absolutely insane. So did you and your wife meet just as coworkers? Did you know each other before that?
We didn't really know each other before that. Turns out we were in kind of like adjacent friend circles. She's a couple years younger than me, and then when we started working together, well, I don't think we really liked each other like a whole lot right away to begin with. I don't know. It was a contentious thing that definitely turned into a family and a lifelong career.
That's amazing. I work with Ashley Green in downtown St. Cloud on her podcast, the Love Story Podcast, and we should get you guys on to tell your love story on that. I think that'd be...
We've been talking about scheduling with her for a couple minutes already, yeah.
Wonderful. We'll get you on the books.
Yeah.
So in addition to running Bravo Burrito, you also do a creative agency and music. Let's talk a little bit about your journey with music. So tell me a little bit about like how you came into that. Were you in band as a kid or just like listening to the radio? What was your thing?
I think I kind of came into it late. Like you hear all these stories of musicians that started playing piano or drums or something when they were like 4 years old. And my mother was a piano player, and she gave me some lessons, and I was, sort of interested. And we had a piano in the house, so it was easy to practice. Almost too easy, like you walk past it, you're like, yeah, maybe next time I'll jam on that thing. I was in like 6th grade, and I started listening to bands like Soundgarden and the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Nirvana. And I thought, man, I really want to get into this. And so I started taking guitar lessons at a local music shop. And the next year, when I went into 7th grade, all my friends had like picked up like the saxophone or the trumpet in 6th grade. And they were like, dude, you should join band. Then you get like an extra out from like having to go to like regular school.
It gets you out of math.
I didn't think about that. That's a good idea. So I joined band, and the band director brought everybody in and tested what they were into. And I was like, well, I started taking guitar lessons last summer. And he was like, well, does it look like we need a guitar player in here? And he said, do you think you could play drums? And I was like, sure. Okay. And they set me up with the drummer. I went to high school at Ricori in Cold Spring. And at the time, Ricori's drumline instructor was a guy named Dick Rausch. Rest in peace, Dick. He was amazing, a super positive guy, some of the best hands and feet I've ever seen on a drum kit. And they've shoved me in like a broom closet with him in 7th grade for like 15 minutes every couple of days to practice learning how to tap on the drum pad. And I fell in love. And I got myself a practice pad, and I sat on the couch at home probably 2 hours a day for like the next number of years, just hammering on that. I wanted to be in marching band and drumline, and my mom, fortunately for me, bought me a drum kit. So I started playing with that and started learning songs, and then, that turned into when your friends come over for like a sleepover or whatever, it kind of turned into like a band practice kind of thing, and we started to figure it out. That basically led to turning 16, getting my driver's license, and practically the first thing I did was throw my drums in my new to me car, my old Dodge Beater, and take them drums to the Java joint in downtown St. Cloud and start playing gigs.
That's amazing. So how did you find those gigs? Like, was it just like flyers on a bulletin board saying we need a drummer to show up, or?
I fortunately had 3 buddies in school that kind of had similar interests in crusty punk rock and heavy metal and stuff. And so we jammed in the basement, and by the time we had transportation, we were, I don't want to say like we were ready to gig, like all of a sudden we're, 21 Pilots or the Red Hot Chili Peppers or something, but we had written some songs, and we learned some classic punk stuff from bands like the Sex Pistols and the Dead Kennedys, and we took our skill set on the road, basically.
That's amazing. So what has the evolution looked like from being the kid playing the crusty punk to the band that you're in now?
Funny. I'm kind of a multi-genre nut. I came from like alternative rock and punk and like hardcore music but I was always into hip hop. In my 20s, I was in a local band called Hydrophonics that played at the Red Carpet, and we were like one of the popular college bands. So like we actually got paid a little bit to play, and we were doing our original music, and it kind of rekindled my interest in recording music. Back then, it was a little bit more tricky to get good quality recordings. I had like a tape recorder, like a 4-track machine, and you really had to squeeze that thing hard to get something nice to come out of it. But by the time I was in my 20s and we were gigging and stuff, you could reasonably buy a computer and some equipment and kind of start doing it at home. And we had kind of an interesting experience going to like a big studio and spending a ton of money to get not the results we were looking for.
I feel like that happens more often than not.
There's not really, we'll probably talk about education in music recording at some point, but there wasn't like a book that you could just like grab at the school library that was like, here's how to get a polished sounding recording, like your favorite artists. And so we did what we did, and I thought, we could buy equipment for that many dollars and just get better at recording. And so we kind of did that, and that band fell apart, and I was in another band, and I played in some hard rock bands. And if you gave me like 20 minutes here, I could probably write a list of like all the forgotten band names that I've been in. But long story short, I still play music from time to time, mostly with old friends. I've been playing with my cousin Chad off and on for coming up on almost 20 years, and right now we just kind of make fuzzy stoner dad rock music.
Hell yeah.
And we recorded ourselves at my recording studio, which is a little bit nicer than it was, back in 2004. And we have a blast doing it.
That's amazing. So as an audio nerd myself who went to school to be a radio DJ, which is, yes, a real thing, kind of. Not anymore. I was the last to graduate before the school went bankrupt. How did you figure out along the way? Because we're talking early 2000s. Internet's around, but it's not the internet we know today where we Google something and the results show up in 2 seconds with AI. So what was the process like of building out a recording studio over these past 20 years?
I had a couple of young musicians come in a year or so ago, and one guy had already been there, and he brought one of his friends in that was going to do a guest appearance on his record, and he came in and his jaw like fell to the floor, and he went, "Wow, how much did you spend on this?" And I said, 25 years, my friend, 25 years. For me, it's been an epic journey. I started in literally like my grandma had an old chicken coop that I re-roofed with like scrap metal so it wouldn't leak, and I had a 4-track tape recorder and most of a drum kit and a microphone, and we started making sounds come out of that, and and that went to when I was in that hip hop band, and we bought some equipment to build out a space, and we had our rehearsal space, and we had a 2-room thing, and we got the studio speakers and the rack with stuff in it, and that was great until the guy that owned the house had kids and a family, and it didn't make sense to be hammering away on the drums at 3 a.m. anymore. At the same time, I was getting serious about starting a family with Sam, my wife, and we bought some property that had the space for it, and we did a little build out, and it was bigger than what I had before, so it was sort of like when you get like your first apartment and you have like a mattress on the floor kind of thing, and then eventually you get a rug, and you get
add a couple lamps that someone didn't want,
and a knife set, So yeah, I started putting stuff in that would fill the room out to make it do what it's supposed to do, and now I have totally more stuff than I need.
But it always just seems like you wake up one morning, you're like, how did all this get here? And where do I go with it all? So you help other people record. Kind of what's the process like? Are you like scouting people out and being like, hey, I have this space and I can help you? Or are they coming to you?
My creative business would be totally fine doing stuff like that if I had the time for it. I do have a couple of music clients that I've worked with before, and very rarely do I take on somebody new. But I tell people all the time that my studio's number one client is Bravo Burrito, because I do the social media and the content creation for that business, and that business is the breadwinner of the family. So it makes total sense. So I really spend a decent amount of my time in the creative space making short videos and social media content for the restaurant, and I'm perfectly happy doing that. It absolutely scratches that like creative itch that you have, that it's always kind of niggling in the back of your brain. And like I play with with bands and with my friends and stuff, and that's a lot of fun, but it is definitely time consuming. And I have 2 young kids, so maybe a couple times a week I'm perfectly happy with them going to bed, and then I'll go out and I'll work late. But I'm in my 40s, and I try to get a full night's sleep way more often than I used to, and that totally eats into some of that creative time, you know what I mean?
Yes, I definitely know what you mean. I was up till 10:30 last night because creative spark came to me at 8:30, so I'm going to start working on it right now. And then I finally look at the time and I'm like, well, that happened.
Yep, right on.
But it's the creative brain thing. I mean, you work when you get that spark, and then sometimes you're sitting there when you have time to work and going, I got nothing. So the big thing I really wanted to have you on the podcast to talk about was Project 37.
Yes.
That's the right number, right? My dyslexia is not kicking in.
37 is the correct number, yes, Abby.
So give me a little background on what's kind of going on with that. And you mentioned that this is something you've been passionate about your whole life. So I'd love to hear more about that as well.
Yeah, it totally ties into what I was saying about packing up my drums and going to the Java joint. In the 90s and 2000s, when I was in my formative years or whatever, we had places like the Java Joint, which is probably the most notable of the all-ages venues. There was another Java shop called the Java.The that was around for a while. That was a great venue. I played all the time. Even the Electric Fetus, downtown St. Cloud, the old record store that's been gone for, I think, 10 years now, had live music every once in a while. And those creative outlets were extremely important to me, and I mean I lived at that Java joint for my late teens into my early 20s. I was the sound guy there. I didn't work there, but I was friends with the owners and the managers, and I kind of lived at that cafe bar. When that kind of all disappeared in the past 10-15 years, it left a big hole in the community. Even though I'm the new guy at the organization. I was asked to join this year, and I was happy to come on board and bring whatever skills necessary. The IMCCM board has been around for almost 10 years. They kind of started to get together after the Electric Fetus closed and kind of recognized right away that there was a hole in the local music scene, and that it's important to have a staging ground for all ages musicians. You can't just go from having band practice at one of your parents' house to playing nightclubs or theaters. Or there's a level that you're kind of missing if you don't have that all ages venue to work with. So they started laying the groundwork for that 10 years ago, and push comes to shove, and over the years done different things like the St. Cloud's Common Roots Festival is under the IMCCM, and a couple of years ago they came very close to finding a building to have a permanent venue, and they I believe the address was 36, and so Project 37 was like the next step up or something like that is kind of how it's told. That building didn't pan out, obviously, or we'd be talking about this awesome, successful all-ages music venue right now instead of trying to open one. But at this point now, a couple of months ago, an opportunity in downtown St. Cloud came up, and the Project 37 org started aggressively fundraising and promoting for it, and we need to raise $75,000 very soon in order to get this project underway. But we've already had great inroads in the fundraising effort to get that happening. And hopefully we'll get that venue opened and going very soon. That would be amazing. Up until now, Project 37 has been using borrowed space to do venues, to do shows. Some really nice places in town. Big one is a place called The Shed, which is a private skate park in the south side of St. Cloud, kind of near where Backwards Bread is, an awesome bread shop. Yeah, we've done a ton of shows there. Bubba at the Gnarly Bard Theater, the new Gnarly Bard Theater's had shows with us. The guys at the Red Carpet have been nice enough to let us do some all ages sober shows on Sunday afternoons. But the goal the whole time has been to go beyond asking and borrowing space and having a space of our own, someplace that not only kids can come to play music, but they can come and hang out, safely and do you hang out at a coffee shop, do schoolwork. Project 37 is also building out education resources, and having a permanent space would allow us to have classroom space that we can start to teach, kind of all general, like, music-related and arts-related resources, whether it comes from, like, recording or learning how to reach out to book your band at venues and stuff. We'd like to be kind of an all-access resource for young people.
Well, and how important it is to just have a permanent location for something like this, because it's so great that all these places are allowing you guys to come in and set up and have your events, but, like, it's so much easier to just point people to one place versus a handful of different ones around the area. And I feel like this is something that the younger generation is really going to latch on to, because I spend a lot of time on TikTok, like too much time on TikTok. But what I've been kind of absorbing from that is the younger generation is more what they're referring to as sober curious, where they don't want to drink. They just want to be in a space, be entertained, but not consuming alcohol of any kind or drugs. Like, I feel like this is something that really could take off with that age group.
Yeah, I mean, I, as a teenager, wasn't really interested in, like, the drinking and partying scene. And, I learned how to do that when I got older, I guess. But yeah, you're totally right. I mean, there's a missing piece there that, where can you go as a young person to just hang out? And not necessarily, like, I mean, you could go to a place like Blacklight Adventures or the Skating Place or something, but that's like a paid thing. You gotta pay, you gotta get a ticket, you're there to do an activity. What if you just want to sit down and get your laptop out, or just, like, sit with, like, 3 or 4 friends? You're not gonna go to a bar.
Right.
That would be odd. And Project 37 right now does a couple of shows a month, but with a permanent space, I mean, we can be putting things together every single week, multiple times. We're lacking having open mic kind of opportunities for singer-songwriters or poetry, or there's not a lot of that going on, and that's a valuable thing. I used to do those open mics all the time. I would make an effort to learn, like, songs on my acoustic guitar, and I've never been much of, like, a songwriter, but I always loved going and, like, trying new things out on a stage. I used to be into, like, I would learn, like, all these, like, 70s TV themes, and I'd do a whole set.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I'm sure that nobody got bored and left, but
yeah, you're kind of playing to a pretty niche crowd with that one.
Yeah, but those opportunities, were they're great memories for me, and if I can do anything to help create those for another generation of young people, that would be great. I mean, my young kids eventually are going to be teenagers, and sure, they can come home and hang out at home, or they can hang out in our studio space, but they're probably not going to want to be around me all the time.
Right.
What I mean?
Yeah, they're teenagers. Yeah, I know this is something that I would have really latched onto when I was in high school, because I could not play an instrument, but I loved music and, like, the industry of it. But luckily, one of my best friends was a really good singer, so I would take out my little HP laptop and we would record her original songs, and then, like, we were, like, playing pretend essentially of her being an artist, and then we'd like try to get her booked at like different things, but like I'm from Long Prairie, so there wasn't much opportunity for that other than like the church bazaar in the summer. So this is something I really would have gravitated to, and I'm so happy that you guys are putting in such a major effort to bring this to the area.
Yeah, and right now we are, I suppose this is probably not going to air in the next couple days.
It will.
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
I'm prioritizing this one.
Let's pump it out. Anyway, it's Wednesday right now, and Saturday is the 16th of November. So if you hear this before then, we're having a open community fundraiser at our proposed venue, which is the Oblivion Coffee Building in downtown St. Cloud. It is, should I look up the address right now? I should have.
I'll put it in the show notes. If you know where the courthouse is in downtown St. Cloud, it's just kitty corner from that.
It sure is, and it's really easy to reach, and there's parking up and down the street. And we are really hoping that people are going to come in, and what we say is if everybody in St. Cloud gave $1, we'd be funded like a snap of the fingers. But obviously it never works that way.
Right.
And we're doing our best to get people in, get people interested, and anybody who has, $1, $5 that they can put into the fund, that would be amazing, because this is going to mean so much, not just to the organization, but to all the potential young people and musicians and artists that are going to be able to have access to an awesome, coffee shop, music venue, plus education resources. So yeah, that's coming up on this Saturday, the 16th, at Oblivion Coffee. It is at 5:30 p.m., I think, and we're going to have some live music, and there's a silent auction. There's a whole host of fun stuff that people have been giving. I'm doing a donation of some fun swag from Bravo. There's a couple other restaurants and some musicians and stuff. I think there's a whole list on our Project 37 social media right now that you can go and look at if you're interested in a specific thing. But otherwise, it's just fun to go and look at all the fun stuff. And it's a great way to donate and get a little something back in return.
And an opportunity to be in that building. So Oblivion Coffee had such a special place in my heart because I was working for Stearns County when it opened, right across the parking lot in the admin building. And I would be there almost every single day. And then when they closed, my heart just ached because that building just has like this energy that I'm naturally gravitated to. It just feels like such a warm and welcoming place where people gather, and just to be back in that building, what a treat. What a treat.
And they designed it so nice and so beautiful in there. The decor, the walls and the flooring and everything. It's just got a real kind of awesome rustic look, and totally not haunted. Totally not haunted.
Definitely not haunted. The old funeral home is not haunted. But it's just a cool place. And I'm so hopeful for this fundraiser for you guys and the online one. The last time I checked it, I think I saw you guys had raised like $20,000 so far on that.
It's over $20,000. We're over 30% of our goal. And that's why we're on our big push right now to get that thing all the way to 100%.
And what's the cutoff date for hitting that $75,000 goal?
I think we're going through November.
Okay.
So we're really on that like big push right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so if everyone could just give $1 in the St. Cloud area, it would help tremendously. If you got $5, just help your neighbors out with their dollars.
Oh my goodness, yes.
This is so important, and the work that you're doing is making a difference in the community, and it will for years to come. So I want to thank you and the whole team behind it for that, because you guys have a very important mission, and I'm happy someone's out there doing it.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm just the new guy, but man, some of those folks there are total rock stars in this nonprofit universe, and they've been working so hard. I feel lazy. I totally feel lazy when I show up for meetings for that group. Like, I could be doing more, and they are just crushing all day, every day, writing grants, booking shows, and then obviously trying to buy a building and open a coffee shop. I mean, those are not small feats.
Yeah, definitely. Well, if people want more information, I'll be sure I link everything down in the show notes below for easy access. Is there anything that we didn't cover? Kind of a loaded question. We kind of covered a lot of topics.
Yeah, right. When it comes to just like straight up talking points, like I feel pretty happy about where we went, and as far as stories I could tell, I could go on and on. If you want to do a 3-hour long form, we could totally keep knocking this thing out, Abbey.
Give me a story. We got time. Give me a story.
Yeah, sure. Related to Project 37, last year I was asked to be one of the School of Rock instructors. If you don't know what School of Rock is, it's run by the Worth Center for Performing Arts, which is a nonprofit music school in downtown St. Cloud, and they have amazing teachers. So many of the teachers are on the board of the Project 37 and IMCCM, pretty closely related to the music industry. But I got asked to instruct the School of Rock, and they take, it was like over 100 students, young people from like 12 to 18 years old, and they all do a quick audition, and then the instructors throw them into bands together, and then they have just a couple of days to figure out some songs they're going to play and who's going to play what and how the performance and the costume and the staging, if any. And it was so amazing to see over 100 kids come together, learn these songs, and then get to play a show at the Paramount Theater in downtown St. Cloud. And to be a part of that, I was nervous at first. I haven't instructed as a musician in a long time, but it was so rewarding, and there is so much talent. And related to Project 37, I can't wait to get a venue open and have an opportunity for a lot of these folks to be able to put bands together, or just as singer-songwriters to come and keep doing their thing outside of, a school or an academic situation.
Those kids are super talented. So one of my friends' daughter was part of the School of Rock, and we were golfing, and she's like, "Oh yeah, she had her concert. Here's a quick little video of it." And I'm watching it. I'm like, these kids are incredible. Like, they're playing guitar and drums and singing these complex songs that like are hard enough for the original artist to sing, but here's a 12-year-old out there just belting it. It's incredible, the level of talent that these children have, and you guys are creating a place for them to come and shine, which is amazing.
That's what we're trying to do, for real, and it's going to feel so good to get it off the ground.
Maybe someday we'll all be able to say, the next Taylor Swift came out of St. Cloud because they had a place to perform and explore their talents, which would be incredible.
Oh, that would be so nice.
Cool.
Legendary.
Icon status.
No doubt.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me into Bravo Burrito bright and early this morning to chat about it. The smells have been fantastic coming out of here. I wish you guys could smell this podcast because it just smells delicious.
We're cooking from scratch starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, yeah.
It's an amazing place you have. Thank you so much for sharing all about your adventures today. I really appreciate it.
Right on, yeah. Thanks for having me on, Abbey.
Thank you for checking out another episode of the Small Town Tourist Podcast. Again, if everyone could just give $1 to this cause in the St. Cloud area, it would be fully funded. So please consider giving even just $1 if you can. The link to donate is down below, along with the link to Project 37 and their fundraiser that is happening on November 16th. All the details down in the show notes, easy access. If you're looking for more content from the Small Town Tourist, you can always find me at the Small Town Tourist on Instagram and on Facebook. And you can check out the blog, thesmalltowntourist.com. I'll catch you next week.